Night Hunter 2018. Oh boy, what a piece of worthless crap. This review will have lots of spoilers in it. I feel no need to protect any of its secrets because I do not recommend the movie. You should not watch it. It is... I knew what I was getting when I started it. I had never heard of it. It was self-evidently a video-on-demand movie. Obviously it was never designed to go into cinemas and be seen by a wide audience. It was always going to go straight to streaming services or iTunes, and there is a history of movies with surprisingly lavish budgets and surprisingly decent casts full of actual famous people slumming it, making a deeply mediocre movie with a terrible script full of cliches and logic issues. This is the thing that always pops up in these types of movies as well. They, for some reason, it's almost like a contractual obligation that they have scripts that are incoherent and full of logic problems. I'm thinking of the movie Momentum with Olga Kurylenko, or something her name is. She was a Bond girl in The Quantum of Solace. Movies that clearly no one involved in the production at any stage thought, this is a good script of merit, this is a worthwhile film to make. It is clear from the very start to the very end that people thought it was a piece of crap, or at best they thought it will be an okay time waster that won't annoy the audience and a few undemanding people might actually enjoy it. That's about as good as it gets. Another movie that springs to mind, not quite the same, but Visiting Hours, a Canadian thriller starring Michael Ironside. Slightly similar, just kind of... Basically everyone who made the movie, it was just a cash grab. It wasn't too embarrassing to have on the CV because it was obscure, it would come, it would go, no one would notice it, everyone would shrug. Presumably these actors and cast and crew, they didn't have any other jobs lined up at that particular point in time, and they were going to be paid their full wages. So they might as well spend 3 months in Manitoba, Canada shooting some third-rate thriller rather than sitting at home twiddling their thumbs. So I'm assuming that's basically how they attracted a decent cast, by paying them their full fee, and they didn't have anything better to do at that particular point in time. This movie stars Henry Cavill. He's currently Superman, and he was in Mission Impossible Fallout. Ben Kingsley and Stanley Tucci, I think his name is. These are respectable actors of some ability. You would think they would have better options of films to make, but as I said, anyway, I do not believe anyone made this movie with any expectations that this was any good. And it's a ludicrous script. It is full of cliches and it's just totally illogical in places. Cliches, it's just, the whole thing's a generic thriller. It reminds me of the film Adaptation by Charlie Kaufman, where the brother Kaufman character is writing a terrible generic thriller script called The Free, full of cliches and stupid illogical stuff. And that's basically what this movie is. Night Hunter is just a very generic stupid story, and it's got some very illogical moments. The bad guys send a live baby through, well, they send a live baby in a cardboard box to the police headquarters, and they pretend the box has a bomb in it, and so they have to evacuate the police station. Then later 5 minutes later they open the box and instead of a bomb they find a baby, and they look at the baby for a moment and they think, oh, it's dead, and then it starts to cry. Just think of the logic. Forget the 20 other logic problems with that. Just how lucky were the bad guys that the baby did not cry during that whole time. It's just super stupid, makes bugger all sense, and is ridiculous in the extreme. Ben Kingsley's character rams the bad guys. The bad guy's in custody and is being taken to somewhere by the police in a escort, and Ben Kingsley is trying to find out where his kidnapped this girl who he works with, who has been kidnapped by the bad guy. He wants to find out where she is, and so he physically uses his car to ram the police car with the bad guy in it off the road so that he could then beat up the bad guy and interrogate him. Trust me, it's silly, it's stupid, and in order to film this sequence would have involved special effects and stuntmen, a lot of time filming it and editing it. And this sequence ends with the revelation that the bad guy has an identical twin brother. Yeah, it goes for that cliche. This is a very big cliche. And I mean, how could anyone have spent hours and hours shooting this sequence and not go, this scene is stupid? They all have to know it's bad stuff. Anyway, the sequence is just illogical. I mean, Ben Kingsley rams a police car off the road so he can then beat up the bad guy to get a confession for information. It's just stupid. And the movie's full of this kind of illogic. I looked up some reviews on Internet Movie Database and they said that the movie is very badly edited. I don't know if I felt that, to be honest. I'm not going to say the movie was well edited, but I'm not sure if it was that choppy. I knew before I started what I was getting. I expected it to start pretty decent and sort of every 20 or 30 minutes it would become sillier and sillier and more illogical and more incoherent as it progressed. Towards the end it would then just be a great big pile of crap. The hope was that it would at least be mildly entertaining, at least for the most part, before it turns to total crap. And that is pretty much what I got. The movie starts semi-okay, and it is pretty watchable. It was harmless, it was silly, but it was expected to be silly, so you can't really hold it against it too much. It was all very underwhelming and not very good, but it was watchable. But I got to the 55-minute point, and then the bad guys, who seem to be super magical and can get access to the police department, and they can blow up police officers in their cars, and then a day later kidnaps another police officer's child. I mean, it's ridiculous, silly scripting, terrible script. Anyway, at the 55-minute point, the baby is kidnapped, and I just thought, no, this is too stupid. There's a limit to how stupid a movie can be, and this is hitting that level and giving up. But of course the sunk cost fallacy thing comes into play. Well, I've watched 55 minutes, there's 45 minutes left, take off, 5 minutes for end credits. Maybe I should just finish it. It wasn't unwatchable. You knew it was going to be stupid when you started it, so why are you surprised when it turns out to be stupid? So I thought, you know what, it's not going to, my time and effort watching this will not be rewarded, but I've sunk 55 minutes into it, so let's just finish the thing. I watched about another 20 minutes, then I think that's when the car crash happens and it's revealed, oh, the bad guy had a twin brother, and that's when I thought, no, this is nonsense, this is terrible. So I stopped it there. About 6 hours later I went back to it, and I didn't watch the end last 15 minutes or whatever. I skipped through it. I watched chunks of it and then skipped a bit. I watched it on Netflix, by the way, so I was kind of skipping, watching bits and then skipping, watching a bit, skipping. So I don't know if like there was a big monologue explaining what was happening and why and motivations were explained. I don't know. I either skipped it or skipped most of it. All I know is what I saw was a load of crap, and the movie ends poorly. And you know, the movie's just a piece of crap. It is out and out crap. I will say though, at least for about 55 minutes, it was mildly entertaining. So I'm going to surprise you by not giving it 1 out of 10. I'm going to give it 2 out of 10 because, to be absolutely fair, the first 55 minutes are fairly painless, mildly interesting even. I was mildly intrigued by the storyline, as cliched as it was, you know, serial killer kidnapping women. And if you want a similar movie, fairly similar subject matter, just made better, although it has its issues, I would recommend, I think it's called Captive by Atom Egoyan. It's a Canadian movie starring Ryan Reynolds, possibly dated maybe 2012 or something. I can't remember exactly, but anyway, it's a bit classier, a bit more intelligent, and is actually quite a powerful movie for maybe the first hour, because the subject matter about children being kidnapped by sexual predators. It's Rosario Dawson's also in it. It's, for the first hour, actually quite a strong, powerful movie. Then it gets silly, and then gets very silly, and becomes a bit iffy towards the end. If you absolutely want to watch this type of subject matter and would like a better recommendation, then Captives is the one I would recommend. What I think is probably most interesting about this piece of crap is the financing behind it. I feel there is a very interesting story behind why this movie was made. I understand why the actors and the cast and crew got together and made a bad script, because they were paid to do it. But who paid them to do it, and why? I do not believe anyone read this script and said, this is either commercially very powerful with great potential, or they read it and said, this script is very good, we must make it. The only reason I can think of why anyone would have made this film was because they deliberately wanted to make a bad film, that they wanted to deliberately spend a lot of money on a bad movie. And why would someone want to deliberately make a bad movie? Either for fraud, or maybe for some sort of complicated tax avoidance reason. This is what it feels like to me. This movie exists as a way of losing money, and therefore making money somehow via tax write-offs or something. I watched to the end credits, and it has a whole bunch of stuff about tax credits, Canadian tax credits in Manitoba, Canada, where they filmed it. And that is just my assumption that there must be there are accounted on the end credits 22 executive producers. And there's also other producers and co-producers and associate producers probably on it, but 22 executive producers, which I am going to assume in this case is not them throwing out random credits to people, but all 22 of these people are probably the financiers. These people are high net worth people, and they wanted to write off a bunch of tax, and so they put their money together to finance this movie. And it's a case of, okay, a bunch of high net worth people want to spend a bunch of money, so they get together and decide to make a movie. then why not pick a good script? As I said, I do not believe anyone read this script and said, this is a film we need to make for artistic reasons or for financial reasons, you know, because we're going to make lots of money by making it. I can only assume, I picture like in the movie The Producers from 1968, where they sat around and read scripts, searching for the worst script they could find, but was in a popular genre, and they could go into a court of law or go to a meeting with the tax people and say, no, 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 we did not make this deliberately to lose money. This is a popular genre and we hired these popular actors from America to be in it. This was not an attempt at losing money. This was a genuine artistic or commercial project with proper potential, and we wanted to make money by making this movie. The fact the movie turned out to be a piece of crap that no one wanted to see is not on purpose. I think it is on purpose that the movie is this bad. I honestly do think, I mean, if your brother-in-law was writing a screenplay and he was talentless and his screenplay ended up with the revelation that the killer has a twin brother, you would just laugh and dismiss it and say to yourself, oh, my brother-in-law is talentless and Steven Spielberg will not be phoning him anytime soon to buy the rights to his screenplay. But this is a produced movie. This movie, with this terrible cliched piece of crap screenplay, actually got produced and filmed and released. And it has famous actors in it. Ben Kingsley is in this movie. And he must have filmed for several weeks at least, because he has a decent sized role. I mean, I think this was probably made the same year as Mission Impossible Fallout. So Henry Cavill made both these movies possibly in the same year. I mean, there is just no way anyone read this script and said, this is good. Yeah, that is, honestly, I think there's an interesting story behind this, about why this piece of crap was made. The movie is not bad by accident. The movie is bad on purpose by design. The movie is quite lavishly made. There are no signs that the production was shortchanged, that they were doing things on a tiny budget. There are lots of actors, some of whom are famous. There are lots of locations, indoor and outdoor locations. There are stunts. There are some special effects. If someone said to me this movie cost $20 million to make, I wouldn't say, no, that's nonsense. I have no idea what the budget is. They may have spent $5 million on it, they may have spent $50 million on it. Realistically, I would assume it's maybe more in the region of 20 million or slightly under. But it's a proper, fully financed movie with famous actors, and there is no way these actors took a big pay cut and made the movie for a tiny salary in return for getting to work on interesting material, a movie of high artistic value. This is purely a money grab for everyone involved. So that's my take on it. This is a producer's 1968 type situation where a movie was made deliberately to be bad and to lose money. The movie did not get released into cinemas. It went straight to video on demand, I think about a year after it was premiered at a film festival. And again, you probably find they only did a film festival just to add more legitimacy to it, so that when we have to take the meetings with the tax people or whoever, they can say, oh, we took the movie to a film festival, we were trying to get it, you know, it released proper and all the rest of it. But I am of the opinion anyway, the movie is deliberately bad. They picked out a bad script full of cliches and logic problems, something they knew that no sane audience member would actually like, and they made a movie that is deliberately bad in order to lose money. And say they spent 10 million making it or 20 million making it, and for some reason, via some complicated tax system loophole or whatever, it was advantageous for them to lose that money because they then write it off against other more important money losses or